official opposition. Main question, the honourable member for Edmonton Millwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In Alberta, health and social service workers in the human services sector are 12 times more likely to be the victims of workplace violence than workers in traditional job sectors. Too often, frontline workers in the Department of Children's Services are punched, grabbed, pushed, and verbally threatened by their clients. Casework overloads caused by staff shortages and increasing poverty issues increase worker risk. While the department has protocols for reacting to an episode of violence, little is done to prevent attacks. To the Minister of Children's Services, when was the last time your staff conducted a province-wide audit of the implementation of the Occupational Health and Safety Code in the Department of Children's Services, and what were the results?
The Honourable Minister.
Good question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a number of areas in there to address, but the very first thing I want to say is, first of all, agree with your member statement that our social workers deserve our support. And also to say for the House, I take this role, and I know that you would agree, as Minister of Children's Services very seriously. I see my number one role is to ensure that this government is placing as much effort and value on our social infrastructure as our physical infrastructure, and I can tell you that that is the case. I can also tell you that we value the professionals who are servicing that social infrastructure. And in fact, I can say that I'm very proud that most of the initiatives that I've been able to announce since the budget have been focused on valuing and respecting our staff.
Good answer.
Very good answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What little preventative safety measures and procedures that exist in the Department of Children's Services are piecemeal, inadequate, and inconsistent between regions. For example, Children's Services sets no provincial standard on the number of hours and frequency of staff safety and violence prevention training. There is also no standard for workplace security measures like plexiglass barriers, panic buttons, and the location of visitation rooms, or for the safety of human services workers working alone for after hours. To the Minister of Children's Services, when will your department develop clear and consistent workplace violence prevention standards that apply to all provincial and contracted social service
The Honourable
workers
Minister.
province-wide?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The second thing I'd like to address is actually the comment about resources. And I can tell you that I think that the Children's Services employees do a fabulous job in this province, taking care of the interests of children and families. And I can tell you just this week alone that I've had the opportunity of visiting staff in 3 different sites. And when it does come to resources, I do think, and I know that you've also been taking a look at this, the casework practice model that we have started to implement in 13 sites across the province, preparing for a rollout, will make a significant difference and improvement on workload issues in this province.
Member.
Last year, following the tragic death of social worker Bonnie Frederick, the American state of Kentucky implemented a new piece of legislation called Bonnie's Bill. Among other things, this legislation included new standards for the creation of secure client visitation centers, provisions for social worker access to criminal records with 1-hour turnaround time, and mandatory staff safety training twice a week. Also, recognizing the widespread impact of worker burnout on health and safety, the state hired an additional 100 workers. To the Minister of Children's Services, Alberta too has had its share of human service worker assaults and fatalities, yet little has changed. Has your department looked at these measures, and if so, why hasn't it
The Honourable
implemented
Minister.
them?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, there's a couple of questions there. A couple of things. If there's any particular instances that you know that, because I know that you're good at following up, and if you'd like to share the information with me, I'll do due diligence as well. What I can tell you is safety of staff is of utmost importance to us. The Children's Services, we do have a provincial occupational health and safety committee, and it is their job to, with representation from management and employee representatives, to recommend solutions that do address the kinds of situations that you're talking about. I understand that policies and guidelines are on the website, and but like I say, I'll follow up with. I'll take a look at the hands and follow up with some information. But if you want to give me more details and specifics, I'll follow up with that as well.
Honourable Leader of the Third Party, followed by the Honourable Member for Edmund Castletown.
Thanks very much.